Okay. For chapter 4, there are two types of questions that he could give us. Okay. We have the confidence interval, we have hypothesis testing. This video, I'll explain confidence interval. How do you answer these questions? Okay. الحين قبل لا we go into the questions أبغى أقولكم each question شو نبغى في النهاية. Anytime they talk about confidence interval في النهاية we're gonna use this general formula and the answer should be a range, and it's gonna be a number and then we're gonna give plus minus of the number, or you could actually like physically calculate, or you should physically calculate out this number بيطلع لكم two values because plus minus, you guys got it. Okay, so في السؤال شو بيعطوكم؟ they're gonna give you the sample mean, they're gonna give you the standard deviation of the mean, they're gonna give you the number of samples that was taken, بس they're not gonna give you the t. أول أنا إيش قاعد أقول؟ the confidence interval في one formula you're gonna use. This is the general formula, which is x bar, which is the mean, okay, plus minus the m. شو يعني m? m is the margin of error. Margin of error is calculated by t times s over n. ال s هو standard deviation, so we have it. وال n هو ال number of samples, we have it. باقي ال t. okay. الحين كيف نحسب التي؟ يعني بوريكم السؤال again. okay, مثلا أول واحد قالوا لكم إنه يعني I'm just rephrasing what I'm saying. They told us إن في the number of samples were 40, so عنا ال n. okay, وقالوا لنا إن ال mean is this, so we have x bar. okay, وقالوا لكم the standard deviation is this, so we have s. so we do have x, s and n, بس باقي نطلع التي. اوكي كيف نحن في النهاية we just need to use this formula, ما في أي شيء ثاني, we just need to use this formula and give us the value. بس the part where you want to find the t is way complicated. okay, so الحين I'll tell you. okay, so الحين we want to focus on something. نحن قلنا في النهاية we want this formula, this is the final answer, this is what you're going to use. عنا ال x بس باقي ال m, how do you calculate it using this formula? The one thing we don't have, which is the t. الحين كيف نحسب ال t? Before you look at the t, you're gonna look at the sample size that's given. How many people have participated, or how many samples have we gathered so far? إذا it's above or equal to 30, we're gonna use the first method. If it's below 30, we're gonna use the second method. إذا تبون تعرفون ليش إن why are we shifting from the t table to the z table, باختصار إنه when the degree of freedom is really high or it crosses 30, the t table starts acting exactly like the z table. فما له داعي we go through the suffering of calculating the t table, we can just go straight away to the z table. okay, so الحين let's go مثلا for the first question. شو قالوا لنا the first question؟ قالوا لنا إنه نحن عنا ال x bar, عنا ال n وعنا ال s. So the first thing you want to look at, or you want to check, and you have these three givens. The second thing you want to do is look at the n. Is the n greater than 30 or less than 30? Greater or equal than 30 or less than 30? Here it's 40. So we know that n is greater or equal to 30. So this is the first approach. الحين أي سؤال عنده ال sample size يكون أكثر or equal to 30, this is how we're going to calculate it. قالوا لكم بيقولكم في السؤال نبى confidence interval at 95%, or قالوا لكم نبى confidence interval at 99%, whatever number they give you. okay, أنا I highly suggest to draw it out dome عشان you guys get it. okay, so let's say في أول سؤال قالوا لكم نبى confidence interval of 95%. okay, so 95% means it's gonna cover 95% of the total area. هذا كامل is شو 100. okay, فالحين we know إنها كامل is 100 صح؟ بس نحن we only covered 95% of it, so the remaining is 5%. بس لأن في على اليمين وفي على اليسار we divided the 5% يمين ويسار, فبيكون هني 2.5% وهني 2.5%. okay, so what you need to do الحين is look or gather or calculate the value that's to the left of this interval over here. okay, هاد total كامل هني بيكون 2.5 plus 95, which is شو 97.5%. okay, or النمبرز يعني 0.0975. okay. بعد ما طلعتوا هالرقم you're gonna go to the Z table to the Z table. الحين I forgot to tell you, either the number or the value is above 30 you're gonna use the Z table, if the value is below 30 you're gonna use the T table. الحين نحن شو قلنا؟ the value is above 30 وطلعنا شو؟ طلعنا 0.975. so we know that the value to the left is كله 0.975. أنا what I'm gonna do is go to the table. okay, هذا T distribution أنا أبغى Z distribution. okay, what I'm looking for is inside مو بهالأرقام اللي على الطرف، مو من هالZ 0.00 0.01 ولا يعني to the left to the right. أنا I'm looking inside the table and I'm looking for this value اللي I'm shaded over here. I'm looking for this value اللي هو هني اللي هو 0.975. and then by finding this number I could go to the axis to the left and to the top and figure out the number which is not 1.9 and then go فوق which is 1.96. so I know in the Z value is 1.96. هذا هو ال Z value. ال Z value هو نفس ال T value. okay, هو نفس ال T اللي نحن we're trying to find في margin error كان شو؟ كان M صح؟ و the M was equal to T times شو؟ times S over standard over square root of N. عنا ال S وعنا ال N وتو طلعنا ال T which is 1.96. okay, let's go for another example. قالوا لكم the confidence interval is 99%. فوق كلها what do you need to check إن the N is above or equal to 30. فالحين شو بنسوي؟ we're gonna draw it out. 99% covers this much. هذا total كامل is 100. شو اللي بقى من ال 100 to the 99؟ only 1%. the 1% covers a bit of the left and a bit of the right صح؟ which it's gonna split يعني. so it's gonna be 0.5% to the left 0.5% to the right. والحين نحن شو نبى نطلع؟ نبى نطلع ال values اللي كلها to the left of this number نبى نطلعها كامل which is شو 0.5 plus 99% which is شو 99.5% or 0.995. طلعنا ال value الحين. what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to the table. الحين what we're trying to figure out is the T value. ها كله we're trying to figure out the T value. okay, and I know I keep saying the Z score بس لأن at some point when the sample size يوصل to 30 or above 30 it starts acting like the Z table. ف I can just go T value وال Z value بيكون نفس الشيء أصلا. ف we're gonna go to the table الحين عنا ال value. we're gonna look داخل ال table for 0.995 and then we're gonna look for the value which corresponds to يعني when I say شوفوا when I say whatever value يعني هالأرقام اللي على اليسار. when I say whatever score السكور يعني داخل البول اللي هني. so I'm looking for the Z value that gives me the Z score of 0.95. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna look for 0.995 and I know it's gonna be somewhere تحت 0.995. وينها راح؟ فجأة استويت حوله 0.995. شوفوا it's between يعني it's between this number with this number over here. okay, so I know and it's gonna be 2.5. أروح فوق 2.5 يعني 2.575. it's supposed to give me like a number like that. هذا 2.575. okay, هو كان give and take لأنه ما عطينا النمبر exactly. okay, so الحين طلعنا the T value or the Z value from the table لأن قلنا the Z value is actually like the T value when it's over 30. for the T value الحين استوى 2.575 ونحن شو كنا نبغى نسوي في النهاية؟ كنا نبغى نسوي x bar plus minus the margin of error. عنا ال x bar نبغى نحسب ال m. ال m كان عبارة عن شو؟ عبارة عن T times S over N. عنا ال S which is the standard deviation of the mean. عنا ال sample size وفي باقي the T وتو we calculate the T, plug it here, get the marginal value and then so plus minus حق the mean and then you're gonna get شو a range. You're gonna get two values, the minimum value and the highest value. So this is the interval we're looking for of the mean that's given. اوكي. او اذا تذكرون يعني اذا سوالنا حركة يعني الدكتور سوى لنا حركات في الامتحان وما اعطانا التيبل, you can actually calculate the z-score. We have the x, we have the mean, and we have the شو the standard deviation, so you can calculate it straight away. okay. So الحين هذا كل اللي قاعدين نتكلم عنه if we are شو if the sample is above 30. What if the sample is below 30? If the sample is below 30, الله يسلمكم, بنسوي العكس. يعني let's give يعني إذا gave us السؤال عطونا ال x bar وعطونا ال n وعطونا ال s, بس قالوا لنا find the confidence interval, وقلنا ال confidence interval الإيكويشن ماله plus minus m, واللي هو x plus minus t times s over square root of n. عنا ال s, عنا ال n, عنا ال x bar, نبغى نطلع ال t. بس الحين what's different is that the n is شو below 30. So we're gonna do another approach. الحين this is a general rule, whatever percentage they give you ما نهتم. This is the general rule. يعني هني مثلا I'm giving you an example. قالوا لكم what's the confidence interval, ولا they gave you 99%. okay. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna remember إن أي شيء below 30 we're gonna use the t table. okay. We're not gonna use the z table, we're gonna use the t table. في two things you need to find. أول شيء I'm not gonna explain it من هني. I'm gonna look at the t table نفسه. okay. The t table you can see على اليسار. This is so shitty. okay. على اليسار we have the degree of freedom. هذا هو degree of freedom. okay. The degree of freedom is basically n. ليش بطلع اكتب n الكلام اخترب. okay, which is n. It's not working. Which is basically شو the degree of freedom is n minus 1. okay. يعني the sample size اللي أعطوكم إياه اللي هو n, the number of samples. okay. كله minus 1. هذا هو degree of freedom. So this is the number you're looking for on the left. يعني إذا قلت لكم I have a sample of 25, the degree of freedom بيكون شو 24. So we're gonna look at 24 مني. yeah, 24 مني, and we're gonna look at the values to the left. الحين شو عنا فوق we can see another value. يقول لك ولا they're telling you the upper tail probability. مثل ما تشوفون it's whatever is shaded شو to the right. نحن فوق شو كنا نسوي whatever shaded to the left. الحين بطلع whatever shaded to the right. يعني إذا قلت لكم 99%, نفس السؤال اللي فوق 99%, شو كان the value to the left. Everything to the left كان 99.5 or 0.995. صح. What's the value that's left to the right? 0.5, which is equal to 0.005. So this is the value we're looking for on the في هالvalues اللي هني اللي في التابل. نحن عنا the degree of freedom طلعناه, والحين عنا the value over here. So we're gonna go back to the table and look for 0.05, which is هذا ليش ما خليني أسوي شيء. okay. فقلنا مثلا degrees of freedom is 24. okay. طلعناه لأن sample is 25, وطلعنا the upper tail probability which is 0.05. So we're gonna look for it. فبيطلع لي it's 2.797. okay. So this is how you get the t. So طلعنا the t value. okay. الحين from the t value again just go back to the table, plug, وخلصنا. يعني it's gonna be the t at the upper tail probability, comma, the degree of freedom that you found, and you're gonna get a number, صح? That number you're gonna take it and plug it in the equation that we're talking من الصبح about, اللي هو x bar m, والm قلنا شو it's t times s over square root of n. okay. So this is the general way you want to look or solve these questions. يعني هني. okay. okay. So the first thing in summary that you're gonna do is أول شيء you're gonna check that you have the x bar, you have the n, you have the standard deviation of the x bar, okay? And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this n and categorize it. Is the n greater or equal to 30, or is the n less than 30? Okay? بعدين you're gonna draw out the table. Based on the percentage of the confidence interval they want you to find, you're gonna find either إذا كان قلنا greater than 30 everything to the left, وإذا كان less than 30 everything to the right. And based on that, هذا إذا you get a value من هني, you're gonna go to the Z table. Okay, look inside the table وfind this هو الرقم اللي حصلته is the T score or is the Z score. نحن نبى نطلع the Z value that gave us the Z score. The Z value is the T. And then you're going to take this T and plug it in شو قلنا T times S over square root of N. هذا حق the first case. The second case, إذا كان less than 30, you're going to find the number that's to the right. Okay, you're going to go, first of all, get the sample size. The sample size مثلا مني is 40. ما يستهني, this is greater than 30. مثلا قلنا لكم من 25. Okay, so you're going to find the degree of freedom, which is n minus 1, which is 25 minus 1, which is 4. فطلعنا the degree of freedom, it being 4. الحين هذا on the left axis of the table, the degree of freedom. الحين about the upper tail probability, which is the number to the right. You're going to find this number and then you're going to look for the table for the number that corresponds to the degree of freedom and to the upper tail probability. وهال value is the T value. Okay? And then again, you're going to take it back to this equation, plug it, and find the answer. Okay? يعني الحين let's do an example. Okay. وايد اتكلمت وايد, I'm sorry. بس يعني اللي هو cut. Okay. أنا شو قلت أول شيء؟ You want to check for 3 things that they gave you: the X bar, the N, and the S. هني a biomedical researcher, ما أعرف شو دخلهم فينا بس sure, wants to estimate the mean systolic blood pressure of a patient in a hospital with a random sample of 40 patients. So قلنا N is equal to 40. And then the yielding mean systolic blood pressure is شو 130. So the X bar is 130. Okay. With a standard deviation S equals to 15. Okay. But then they told you to construct a 95% confidence interval. الحين شو قلنا؟ The first thing you want to do, أنا يعني هو whatever he did is okay, بس أنا أحب I go with logic. The first thing is the last thing you want to get, which is شو X bar plus minus the margin of error. Okay. Do we have the X bar? Yes. Do we have the margin of error? No. How do you calculate the margin of error? Which is X plus T times S over square root of N. Do I have S? Yes. Do I have N? Yes. Do I have the X bar? Yes. باقي T. How do you calculate the T? The T, first of all, what you're gonna do is write, is N greater than 30, greater or equal to 30, or N is less than 30. In this case, N is equal to 40. فيعني we're gonna go to this approach. This approach means we're gonna use شو the Z table. Okay, حلو. طلعنا إننا نحب نستعمل Z table. What I'm gonna do right now, okay, is قالوا لنا نحن we need 95%. I'm gonna draw the graph. And I know 95% covers this much. والمتبقي من 95 is 5%. This 5% is split يمين ويسار. This is يسار ويمين. So 2.5% و 2.5%. لأن نحن قلنا the N is greater or equal to 30. So we're going to look to everything that's to the left. Which is 95% plus 2.5, which is 97.5% or 0.975. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Z table and we're going to find the Z score that gives us 0.975. okay, so I'm gonna go into the table. Okay, I'm gonna go to the table and find the z-score. Sorry, the z-score that gives us 0.975, which is نزلت مني 0.9750. هذا found it. الحين I'm gonna look at the axes وبطلع the z-score, which is 1.9, and then you go up 1.96. So 1.96 is the value. So طلع لي ال z-score 1.96. ال z-score هو نفسه the t. So t is also equal to 1.96. I'm gonna go back to the question. Okay, خليها بمسحها. cut. So عنا ال x bar. x bar كم طلع 130. عنا ال n. عنا ال s. we need the t. صح؟ t طلع لنا 1.96. And simply we have this equation. What we're gonna do is we have all the numbers. We're just gonna take them and plug them. بيطلع لنا x plus minus مني 4.64. okay, هذا 130, which is the x bar. 130 plus minus 4.64. هذا is equal to 130 plus 4.64 and 130 minus 4.64. It's gonna give you a range الحين. For the range is 125.36 when you do minus, and 134.64 when you do plus 4.64. okay, فالحين طلعنا the range that's given. طبعا هو الدكتور لأنه يحب يتكلم يحب that sounds so bad. يحب نكتب جملة. We're just gonna word it out and we're 95 مدري شو systolic pressure lies between the minimum and the maximum. So this is the final answer. نفس الشيء الحين. Example number 2. أول شيء you're gonna read the question. You're gonna find what's x bar, what's n, what's s, and نحن بنطلع t. صح؟ Do we have x bar؟ قالوا لنا شو؟ قالوا لكم in n is 25. قالوا لكم the average resting average, which is also the mean, is 72. بعدين قالوا لكم the standard deviation is 8. What's the t؟ هذا we're gonna calculate it. فالحين the first thing you're gonna do is write the equation x plus minus m. m is شو؟ x bar. m is شو؟ t times s over square root of n. Now you're gonna ask yourself, is the n greater or equal to 30, or is the n less than 30? هني the n is شو؟ 25. It's less than 30. For what we're gonna use is the t table. How are we gonna use it? First of all, we need to find the degree of freedom, which is n minus 1, which is شو 25 minus 1, which is 24. طلعنا the degree of freedom. الحين بنطلع the second thing, which is شو the upper tail probability, or if we draw it, شوفوا when I say upper tail, which is everything to the right, when I say lower tail, which is everything to the left, فهنا بنطلع the value to the right. okay, for what you're gonna do قالوا لكم هني the percentage is 99%. so 99% بيبقى 1%. so هل 1% is gonna split مني ومني, which is 0.5 and 0.5. I know the upper tail is 0.5% only. 0.5% is equivalent to 0.005. So you're gonna look. This is what we're looking for a t-score that has a degree of freedom of 24 and which has upper tail of 0.05 and a degree of freedom of 24. I'm gonna go back to the table. Bismillah. Okay. We're gonna go to the table. طلعنا شو إن the upper tail is 0.05 هذا, and the degree of freedom is 24 هذا. Okay, now you're gonna look for the number, which is 2.797 هذا هني. So this is the t-score that we got. So the t-score is شو 2.797. And we're gonna go back to this equation. عنا ال x bar, عنا ال s, عنا ال n, تو حسبت ال t, which is شو 2.797. and then you're gonna give them, you're gonna solve it basically, بيطلع لكم شي آخر شي, and then you're gonna add or subtract, بيطلع لكم the minimum and the maximum value, and then you're gonna interpret it. ليش تعلقت؟ المهم, you're gonna translate it to a sentence, and you're gonna say the confidence level at 99% or the interval is between هالرقم وهالرقم. So this is the minimum value, this is the maximum value. So I hope you guys get it. كيف تحسبون أي شيء that has the confidence interval. You basically have to focus on this equation. في النهاية أنا personally I love writing what we're gonna end up with. I love writing and في النهاية I'm looking for this, I expand it and then I minimize it to the value that we're looking في النهاية for the answer that we're looking في النهاية, which is x bar plus minus the marginal error which is the interval. So يعني إذا تبون سؤال ثاني بس يعني مثلا I'm just gonna go straight away. مثلا هذا over 36 فشو قلنا n يوم above 30 we're gonna use the t table, we're gonna use the z table. So نحن شو we're gonna take the percentage 98, we're gonna make it into the graph, we're gonna find everything to the left and then this is gonna be the value. We're gonna go to the table مال z value, we're gonna look at the z value that corresponds to this. This is the score, so we're looking for هذا هو السكور, فنحن بنطلع هالرقم اللي هني. Okay, we're gonna find it, plug it back to the equation, خلاص it's given. مثلا هني 20 study with the weight gain of 20% of 20 pregnant women. So the n is 20. So we're gonna use شو the t table. T table depends on two things. أول شيء degree of freedom. Find the degree of freedom and then find everything to the right or the upper tail. Okay, upper tail. Find the values and then go find the t score due to this value اللي هني. Come back to the equation, plug it again. نفس الشيء هني. قالوا لكم 45 patients. What are you gonna use? You're gonna use n greater than 30. n greater or equal than 30 is شو? Using the z table. Z table requires شو? You guys get it. إذا تبوني أشرح any questions send it to me. I don't mind. But like this is the general rule so far.